Listen to these words from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, verse 8, through chapter 6, verse 9. If you see in a province the oppression of the poor and the violation of justice and righteousness, do not be amazed at the matter, for the high official is watched by higher, and there are yet higher ones over them. But this is gain for a land in every way, a king committed to cultivated fields. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. And what advantage has their owner but to see them with his eyes? Sweet is the sleep of a laborer, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep. There is a grievous evil that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owner to his hurt, and those riches were lost in a bad venture. And he is father of a son, but he has nothing in his hand. As he came from his mother's womb, he shall go again, naked as he came, and shall take nothing for his toil that he may carry away in his hand. This also is a grievous evil. Just as he came, so shall he go, and what gain is there to him who toils for the wind? Moreover, all his days he eats in darkness, in much vexation and sickness and anger. Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink, and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Every one also whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them, and to accept his lot and rejoice in his toil. This is the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life, because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. There is an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it lies heavy on mankind, a man to whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing of all that he desires. Yet God does not give him power to enjoy them, but a stranger enjoys them. This is vanity. It is a grievous evil. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, and he has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he, for it comes in vanity and goes in darkness, and in darkness its name is covered. Moreover, it has not seen the sun or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he. Even though he should live 1,000 years twice over, yet no good. Do not all go to the one place? All the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage has the wise man over the fool? And what does the poor man have who knows how to conduct himself before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the appetite. This also is vanity and a striving after the wind. This is the word of the Lord.
We are continuing our series in Ecclesiastes, and if you see in kind of your bullets in there, the title of our sermon this morning that we're going to look at is the meaninglessness of loving money. And so if this is your first time, you're like, I knew it. They always talk about money. And we don't, but we do when the Bible does, and that is often, actually. And so we'll work through our text this morning. I want to, I'm not sure if this is actually working. You might have to advance. There we go. Is that going? No? You might have to advance it up there for me. I want to start by drawing your attention this morning to this famous painting from the Renaissance. This is by Quentin Matisse. And this is a painting called The Moneylender and His Wife. And during this time, as always, well, art is always this way, right? Art is always communicating something. It always has messages, things like that. During this period of time, it was a lot of religious kind of messaging, and the world was changing quite a bit during this time. And so if you look at this painting, you'll kind of notice there's a money lender. This is set in Antwerp in Europe at the time, which was one of the main cities of commerce and trade. And so you would have had a lot of different currencies coming through here. And you see the money lender who's examining a gold coin. He's got scales in one hand. They would have weighed that to make sure it was the right amount of gold. There's some pearls there on the table. You can see imagery of like fruit in the background, hearkening back to the garden. There's a candle that's been snuffed out, so it's not giving light. But the wife, the moneylender's wife is there, and she's got a Bible or a prayer book. It's got a picture of the Virgin Mary and child there. So we know it's a prayer book or the Bible. But where's her gaze? Her gaze is toward the coins, the gold that is there. She's carefully kind of assessing how much her husband is weighing out in this. She's distracted by money. She's trying to do her kind of devotional life, and yet her eyes are drawn away from that to money. And this is the message of this painting, really. This is what the artist is trying to get across, is how easily money pulls us away from our devotion to the Lord. And I think that's an important question for us to ask. It's always an important question. We might think it's a more important question because of where we live. Orange County is a very affluent kind of place to live. But we'll see through the text, it really doesn't matter where you live. And it really doesn't matter how many zeros are at the end of your bank account, that this is a human problem, a heart problem like no other. We're going to see that the craving for more wealth, more and more wealth, regardless of whether you have a little of it or a lot, whether you're rich or poor, doesn't really matter. Our heart can have these cravings toward affluency. And we're going to see, as we have throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, that the preacher in our book, Kohelet, is going to lead us to see that this love of money, this craving for our heart's desire for more and more, is going to lead us to where it always does in all of his lessons. He's been showing us over these initial chapters of the book. Really, the kind of theme of the book is this kind of vanity of life under the sun, this kind of meaninglessness, or the word hevel that is used for vanity. It's a vapor, it's a smoke. You can't actually hold on to it. It's enigmatic in this way. And he's going to lead us to see this in very graphic kind of ways, even at times. In many ways, these tales have been told over and over again. If maybe you had to read in English, or maybe just for fun, you like to pick up old books. If you've anybody read Chaucer's Canterbury Tales? Yeah, okay, a few of you. Yeah, the English teachers in the back there. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, he's like, yeah, what are you going to do? But in that book, there's this tale of this man who's these three group of men, and this group of three men are looking for death. And their thought is if we can find death, we can kill death. And do away with this thing once and for all. And so they're on this quest to find death, and they come across this old man, and they ask him, have you seen death? Do you know where we can find death? And he's like, oh, of course. And he tells them, it's down this field, around the corner, you'll find this big oak tree, and at the bottom of that oak tree, you'll find death. And they're like, great, we're gonna take out death. And so sure enough, they go, big oak tree, there it is. But when they get to the oak tree, what do they find there is these 3 massive bushels of gold. And they're like, whoa, this is amazing. We each get a bushel of gold each, and gold's heavy, and so they're trying to figure out how are we gonna carry this, or how are we gonna take possession of this. It was close to nightfall, so they decided we're just gonna camp here, and we'll figure this out tomorrow when we have more time. We don't wanna be walking around in the dark with this, and so we'll wait here. And so they sent the younger one into town to go buy some supplies. And so he buys bread, he buys some wine, but he also buys some rat poison. And he poisons the wine. And so he's like, if I kill them, I get it all to myself. Now, what he doesn't know is the other 2, while he's been gone, have been scheming to take him out, because they're like, we'll only have to split it 2 ways now. And so when the young man returns, there they stab him to death, and then raise their glass in victory and drink the wine, thus drinking the poison and killing themselves. And sure enough, there at the bottom of the oak tree, they found death. And like this painting, and like this story, and like the book of Ecclesiastes, and much of the scripture, it gets at the heart at our heart, and how easily entangled our heart can be when it comes to wealth, when it comes to treasure. We went through COVID a few years ago, and no one wants to talk about viruses anymore, but I would say that this virus is one that is inescapable from the human heart in many ways. Like influenza, affluenza will end up killing us if we're not careful. We all are struggling to be inoculated from the disease of affluenza. And it's particularly harder, I think, in some ways, of us that live in the United States at this period of time in one of the wealthiest countries the world has ever seen. So let's look at our text as we jump into this. Real quickly, just to point out, the structure of this text in the original language is what we call a chiasm. It uses this kind of structure to make a point, like a lot of these stories. And I want you to think of it as these kind of parallel passages and that move towards the center. And so you have section 1, which is chapter 8 through 12. The parallel to that then is the end of that, 5 through 6, 7 through 9. Then section 2 and 4 in the middle also correspond to one another. And in the bullseye in the middle is really the kind of point of this passage. And so we're going to kind of work through that from the outside down to the center and kind of see what we have to see here. And what I would say, really these kind of 3 sections. Firstly, is that an obsession with money cannot be satisfied. An obsession with money cannot be satisfied. We'll start at the end and kind of work back. So chapter 6, verses 7 and 8, he says, all the toil of man is for his mouth, yet his appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage was the wise man over the fool? And what does the poor man have who knows how to conduct himself before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the appetite. This also is vanity and striving after the wind. He refers to our appetite. When I was a kid, G.I. Joe was a very popular kind of cartoon, and all the toys that came with it. I think they make the cartoon so they sell you the toys. I figured that out as an adult. I'm like, this is really a money-making scheme to get you to buy the toys. But I wanted this particular kind of tank thing that came for Christmas, and I got it. And like a lot of those toys back then, you had to kind of put it together. There was some assembly required, and then you put all the stickers on it, and that took about an hour. And then it was remote control. It was a remote control kind of tank. And when I got it all put together, and I was all ready to go, I was so excited to play with this thing, I realized that I couldn't, because batteries sold separately, and I didn't have the batteries. And so it was like this great excitement, and then just this letdown, because I got to wait till I got to wait till tomorrow we can go out and buy batteries. And so, but this is the way that the scripture tells us about satisfaction and our wealth. That satisfaction is sold separately. It doesn't come guaranteed when we have been sold our bill of goods. And look what he talks about. He talks about this appetite. We all know what it means to be hungry. Maybe some of you are now. That donut that you had this morning will wear off, and you'll start to be like, when is he going to wrap this up so we can go home and eat? And then you will, right? And so we eat to gain strength. We have strength so that we can work. We have work so that we can have money. We have money so that we can buy food, so that we can eat, so that we get strength, so that we can work, so that we can have money, so that we can buy food. And right? It's just, we're in this endless cycle, right? And you're like, which is for what here? This appetite that we have, like he says, like our hunger, you can eat, it will nourish you, but it will not last. You have to continue to have nourishment. And he says our appetite for wealth, our appetite for affluence, for all the toil is for what we can put in our mouth. And yet our appetite isn't satisfied. He mentions the poor being able to acquire certain social skills to navigate life. They have to, whereas the wealthy can kind of buy their social acceptability in many ways. And yet those social skills don't benefit them when it comes to satisfying this appetite. And the appetite he's referring to isn't food, and yet it is money. And notice he says it's both the wise and the foolish. It's both the rich and the poor. And both of them are in the same boat. Neither of them can be satisfied with wealth. We know this to be true, right? Maybe you've been at different socioeconomic rungs of the ladder throughout your life, and yet it doesn't really matter where you're at. There's always something more you want. I think it was Rockefeller maybe was asked, how much money is enough? One of the wealthiest men in the history of the United States. And they asked him, how much money is enough? And his answer was, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. We see the new shoes, and we want those, even though we have a closet full of them. We want the new iPhone, even though ours is only a year old or 2 years old, and it works perfectly fine until Apple slows it down and makes you buy a new one, right? But it's the new shiny thing that our heart wants to go to. Do you remember in Pompeii, the Mount Vesuvius? It erupted so quickly that the citizens of Pompeii were immediately just covered in ash and basically were preserved, but just died in an instant. And the archaeologists, finally dug them up, and they were so well preserved because of just the instantaneous ash cloud that buried them, that they could still make out facial expressions on some of the people who were buried there. And there's one particular woman that they found, and her feet are pointing toward the city gates. She's trying to escape, and yet she's preserved, looking and reaching back. And what they see they find that she's actually reaching for was a bag of pearls. And this is perfect description, isn't it? What in the world are these pearls going to do for you in this moment? Died reaching for this. And notice how he describes our appetite in verse 9. The wandering of the appetite. This wandering of our appetite. Our desire is like a vagabond, always traveling and yet never arriving. I have a musician friend, Stu Larson. He's great. Look up his music. It's great music. But his title of one of his albums is Vagabond, because that's the life he lives. He's constantly just traveling on the road. No family. He's just from one place to another, but never arriving anywhere. This is, he says, our appetite. And he describes this appetite as chasing after the wind, one of his favorite phrases, right? It's hevel again. It's meaningless. It's vanity. We have this delusion of an obsession that cannot be fulfilled. It can't be satisfied. And the parallel parts of that, if we go to chapter 5, verse 8, hear his wisdom here. He says, if you see in a providence the oppression of the poor and the violation of justice and righteousness, do not be amazed at the matter. Don't be surprised. For the high official is watched by a higher, and yet a higher one over them. But this is gain for a land in every way, that a king committed to cultivating fields. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. And what advantage has their owner but to see them with his eyes? Sweet is the sweet sleep of labor, whether he eats much or little, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep. He starts off by saying there are sinful, systemic structures in which keep people poor. He says, don't be surprised when you see the poor or the violation of justice. Don't be amazed at the matter. And then he alludes to this structure of one official. There's another official above him. There's another official above him. They're all looking out for each other. They're all gaining because of this system of oppression. There is no perfect kind of government. All governments at some level are kind of corrupt. We hope that they're less than others. But whether it's full-on theft or communism, whether it's overbearing taxes, seizing property, bribes, demanding special favors, unleashed, unregulated kind of capitalism where the interest groups of lobby groups are fulfilled while disregarding the well-being of the common kind of person. When profit and greed are the motivation to where we will disregard and overlook justice as long as we get paid. He says, don't be surprised at that. Don't be surprised. The government is looking out. There's one official, another one above them. They're looking out for themselves. He says, don't be naive in this. And yet there's a flaw. It's a God-designed flaw. For all of their wealth that they acquire, there's a corresponding lack of satisfaction. These passages kind of parallel and echo each other. Verse 10, the more you have, the more you want. The more you have, the less satisfied you actually are. In verse 11, the more you have, the more people will come after it. What advantage then is their owner but to just see them with their eyes? The more people have, the more people actually take from you, right? We all would love to be wealthy, but with a lot of great wealth, then you've got your maid to pay, you've got your gardener, your nanny, because you don't have time for your kids, your accountant, your broker, and each one of them taking a little piece of that pie, right? Family that you didn't even know exists comes out of the woodwork. Oh, hey, second cousin, how are you? Right? Seems like our family extends in direct proportion to what we earn. Old friends appear out of nowhere. New friends are super excited to get to know you. The IRS would like to have a conversation. He says, where's the end to it all? And notice how he says it. He says, what advantage is it? What advantage is it in the end? When goods increase, what advantage has their owner but just to see it with his eyes? It doesn't actually do any good. You get to watch other people enjoy your wealth. The owner of the wealth becomes a spectator of its use. In verse 12 then, he says, the more you have, the more insomnia-producing worry it produces. Sweet is the sleep of a laborer, a working class person, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep. Now, this could be referring to literal indigestion. We've all been there. I experienced that 2 nights ago, but we don't need to get into that. But I think what's going on here is other layers. While wealth can be amassed, there's much vexation that comes with that. It keeps him up at night. There's a worry that he'll actually lose it. There's a God-shaped lack of satisfaction in each human heart that billions of dollars cannot fill. Remember who the teacher is, who denied his heart nothing. And so he says an obsession with money cannot be satisfied. Satisfaction, like those batteries, they're sold separately. They don't come with it. They don't come with it. Let's look at the second section then of these paragraphs. Our second point, the possession of money must never be trusted. Look in verse 13. He says, there is a grievous evil that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by their owner to his hurt. It's the harm of the owner. Well, how is that? Because it can be suddenly lost, as we'll see. Suddenly lost. Now, if you're like me, you're thinking, you know what though? I wouldn't mind risking it. I'll take the risk. I'd rather have $1 million and lose half of it, or have to give half of it away and still have the other half than have nothing at all. But here he's describing the actual harm that comes to the owner. It can be suddenly lost. We've seen bank failures, right? Have to come in. Investments gone bad. Businesses go out of business. I was thinking about this the other day. Just things that people who made their wealth and things that don't even exist anymore. Imagine being the owner of like a pager company. For those of you of a certain age, a pager is a little thing we used to wear on our belt, and people would beep it, and then you would look at the number, go find a payphone. Payphone was a phone you had to put money into, and then you would call them back. And you're like, oh man, pagers were all the rage back then. Everyone had one when I was, in high school or whatever. And then you're like, imagine being the guy who's, invented that, and you're like, oh man, I'm set. And like 2 years later, no one's using pagers anymore. It goes quick. It comes fast. Retirement plans can get wiped out. Recessions happen. What happened during COVID? Global pestilence, even war. Things that are completely out of our control can just wipe away wealth in an instant. And he says here, it's getting decimated twice. Once in the obtaining it, all the striving, all the work, all the obsession that it took. And then secondly, in the losing of it. You work so hard just to have it lost. Verse 14, and those riches were lost in a bad venture. And he's the father of a son, but he has nothing in his hand. He says these are parents who then lose everything and they have nothing to pass on to their kids. We have short memories, but even in recent history in the U.S., the great stock market crash of 1929 that ushered in the Great Depression. And what marked that period as such a dark time was not just the economic downturn, but the amount of people that were taking their own lives during that time. I'm old enough to remember Black Friday in the 80s. Even in 2008, the bubble bursting on the real estate market. The CFO of Freddie Mac, which was the federal home loan mortgage company, hung himself because they had lost so much. The CEO of Sheldon Good, which is a major real estate holding, lost so much assets during that he shot himself behind the wheel in his red Jaguar. French money manager for many European royals, leading families, lost $1.4 billion of his clients' money in the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme. Slit his wrists and died in his Madison Avenue home. Bears and Stearns executive lost his job, left from the 29th floor of his office. Now, why? Because everything on their life was staked on that wealth. And it was all gone. There was nothing left to live for. They literally felt like they had lost their life already. Hoarding wealth can be a devastating misery because it can be suddenly lost. And it's why we must never trust in it. Another reason he gives is verse 15 through 16. He says, he came into his mother's womb and shall go again naked as he came. He shall take nothing for his toil that he may carry away in his hand. This also is a grievous evil. Just as he came, so shall he go. And what gain is there to him who toils for the wind? This question that he's asking again, what gain? What profit is there in this? You can't take it with you. It's kind of cliched, but that's a biblical cliche. Money can't go with you into the next life. Jesus says the same thing, right? In Luke 12, he tells this parable of a rich man who has so much wealth he doesn't have anywhere to put it. And his solution is building bigger storehouses to store all of his stuff. And Jesus calls him a fool because that very night his life would be required of him. It'd be required of him. He was a fool for thinking that his wealth would matter at the end of his life. Job says the same. Naked I came into the world, naked I shall return. Death will come for us all, and it won't matter what's in your bank at that time. Simon Dyson was an English golfer, and he was asked at the end of one of his most profitable tours if he was afraid of anything. And his answer, I think, was enlightening. He says, death. And you're like, duh. I think that's what we're all afraid of eventually, if we're honest with ourselves. But why he was afraid was interesting. He said death. He said, because I'm in a position now where I can pretty much do whatever I want. Dying wouldn't be very convenient right now. The implication is, I'm more afraid of death now because I have more that I know I will lose. He goes on in verse 17, moreover, all his days he eats in darkness and in much vexation and sickness and anger. In many ways, he's describing a hell here on earth for those who love money. Their heartstrings are tied and they're attached to their wealth. He says he eats in darkness. He's characterized by anxiety, vexation, sickness, and anger. We mustn't trust in wealth. Wealth can be suddenly lost. It disappears at death. And yet, another reason is that the hoarders of it suffer a misery even when they're here. Wealth can't guarantee enjoyment. The parallel passage then in chapter 6:1. He says, there is an evil that I have seen under the sun, and it lies heavy on mankind. This idea of lying heavy is not just the severity, but the frequency. He says it happens all the time. This is a common thing that he sees. It's why it's such a grievance to him. He says, a man whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing of all he desires. Now let's just pause there for a minute. Who here wouldn't sign up for that? Listen to this. I think I would say yes to this. A man whom God gives wealth. You're like, wait, this is God-given? Yeah, well, I want that. I want God-given wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing. I think that's that. What is he describing? He's describing the good life. Is he not describing, if you were to just say, what's the dream life that I could have? Would it not would these not be the ingredients of that? Even honor? Yet God does not give him power to enjoy them, but a stranger enjoys them. He says this is vanity. It's a sickening wrong, evil. Lacking nothing our hearts desire. Now, this is the preacher's life, if you remember, right? This is the life that Solomon has. He says, I denied my heart nothing. I had all the resources. I had all this wisdom. I had all this honor, and yet I can't enjoy it in the end. Money solves some problems, to be sure, but it also creates a whole new set of problems. And God doesn't grant the enjoyment in this under the sun. He says, but indeed, then strangers get to enjoy it. They get to enjoy it because they're not invested in it. If it's not their money that they lose, they're not awake, worrying about their money. It's not theirs. They just get to enjoy it. He says, I don't even get to enjoy what I have. It's attainment without satisfaction. And notice, God's the reason for both. He gives the ability to gain wealth, but not the ability to enjoy it. And so he comes to this kind of end of this section with the same thing. It's vanity. It's hevel. Imagine attaining all your dreams and then not being able to enjoy them. Not even being able to pass them on to your kids for their enjoyment. And look how he illustrates this. This is a little graphic. In verse 3, he says, if a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his life are many. Now, in a Jewish context, this was the ultimate sign of God's blessing. 100 children? You're living that many years? Like, that's the ultimate sign of God's blessing to you. He says, but his soul is not satisfied with life's good things, and he also has no burial. I say a stillborn child is better off than he. To not have someone to bury you, to not have a proper burial, was a sign of curse for them. You must have been cursed under God. And he gives this illustration of a stillborn being better off than this rich and famous person that had everything that his heart wanted and yet couldn't find enjoyment in it. I've held my own stillborn daughter, and it's not a pleasant experience. And yet he says here that child wouldn't know. That child won't know the misery of having the unsatisfied desires of their heart, even though from the outside it looks like they have everything. He says to miscarry at birth is better than to miscarry in life. The stillborn never has to endure the pain or the disappointment, the vexation of his heart. Never has to discover that their dreams and ambitions were empty. Moreover, it hasn't seen the sun or known anything, yet it finds rest rather than he. Even though he should live 1,000 years twice over, yet enjoy no good, do not all go to one place. It says even the stillborn finds rest first. To have everything you've lusted for without the ability to truly enjoy it is such a misery, he says, that it would be better off not to have been born at all. And yet, it's hard to actually believe his words, isn't it? You're like, I don't know. I'd like to experience that. And yet, how many celebrities have we already talked about in this series that have fame and honor and wealth from the world, and yet it's not enough and they take their own life? And here the preacher is saying wealth cannot guarantee joy. You can't trust it to provide something that it has no inherent power to do. Seeking satisfaction in our influence is a dead-end street that will drive you to the preference of non-existence. Paul, I think we have this verse, if we can put it on the screen. Paul is instructing the young Timothy preacher on a few of these things. And listen to this. This is kind of the positive positioning of the negative of what we see in Ecclesiastes. But listen to his instruction. He says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. Now, what is the preacher? The preacher's been using the same word, right? He's trying to attain this gain, and yet he can't. Here we see, what is gain? It's actually godliness with contentment. Hear the same words. For we brought nothing into the world, we can take nothing out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we'll be content. Our basic needs, food and clothing, shelter. He says, with these we'll be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into a temptation, into a snare, into a trap, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with pangs. Do you hear the sharpness of his language? It's the same, isn't it? Those who desire to be rich. Notice it's not those who are rich. So this applies to you even if you're sitting here going, well, this sermon isn't for me because I'm not rich. I mean, we all are, like honestly, globally. Isn't that this is the trap and snare. When we think about our kind of socioeconomic status where we are, we always look up. We never look down. We always look to the person above us and be like, oh, well, I'm not that rich. I'm not that wealthy. We never look down and go, oh, wow, I'm actually a lot higher up this ladder than I thought I was. But we're probably all in the top 5% of global wealth. It's the love of money. It's not money that's the root of all kinds of evil. There are plenty of wealthy people in the scripture that we see honor the Lord with their wealth, are able to do that with joy and gladness of heart. It's the love of money that's the root of all kinds of things. It's this craving, and he says some people have wandered away from their faith. We need to be careful. We need to be careful. It's the same as the preacher in Ecclesiastes. The more you have, the more you want. The more you have, the less satisfied you are. The more you have, the more people, including the government, will come after it. The more you have, the more you realize it does no good in the end. The more you have, the more you have to worry about. The more you have, the more you can hurt yourself by trying to hold on to it. The more you have to lose. The more you have, the more you'll just leave behind. And so he says an obsession with money can't be satisfied. The possession of money can't be trusted. And then lastly, contentment is God's gift to give. And it's his gift to give irrespective of your wealth. So let's get down to the bullseye, right in the middle of the target that we're going to find here. Chapter 5, verses 18 through 20. He says, behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting, that is appropriate, is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil, all the work, with which one toils under the sun the few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them and to accept this lot and rejoice in his toil. This is the gift of God. For he will not remember the days of his life because God kept him occupied with joy in his heart. Now, I don't know about you, but you're reading this and it's not, you're like, really, this is the bullseye? It's not what I would expect. After all of the wealth can be a trap, all the harm, all the warnings, all the dangers, you would expect like austerity. Get rid of all your possessions. Commit to a life of poverty. But here's focus is theological. It's not material as such. Here the focus is on God. God's only been mentioned twice so far in the surrounding paragraphs, here twice as many times. When God is the determining focus of our worldview, everything changes regarding your ability to enjoy life. The description thus has been life under the sun, a perspective distant or detached from God. Not with God at the center, but with our possessions, our desires, our obsessions at the center. Here he reverses that. With God at our center, you're able to actually find enjoyment in life. Whether in lean times or whether with wealth and prosperity. We find ourselves last week, before a sovereign God, as dust-destined creatures accepting our lot in life as determined by God. We work hard. We find enjoyment in that work. We're able to eat and drink and enjoy the simple pleasures of life. And in that, we acknowledge the sovereignty of God and the grace of God in all of it. Just as a drop of rain doesn't fall unless God's willed it, so not an ounce or a drop of joy falls into our hearts unless God gives it. James puts it this way: every good gift, every perfect gift is from above. It comes from the Father. And he also gives us the power to enjoy these things. But we forget this given our propensity to idolatry. We, as we've seen already in this series, we worship the gift rather than the giver of the gift. The ability to enjoy money and possessions and family and work and sex and all the other good gifts that God gives us to enjoy come from him. And when we try to take those things, make those our source of satisfaction, we put them as God, we worship those gifts instead of the giver of the gift. And then we find that the joy is not included. It ultimately doesn't satisfy. It's a striving after the wind. We can't rely on it. We can't trust in it. We take the gifts that God gives us and we turn them into idols. He's going to mention later in this book to enjoy your bread and wine that God has given you. So we take wine and instead of enjoying that as God has given it to us in moderation to gladden our hearts, we rely on it. We look to it to find, to reduce our anxiety, to help us sleep, to make us forget our pain. All the things that we should be looking to God to do. Walking in Christ to do. We do the same thing with our money. We try to find our security in it. We try to find our peace, our joy, our identity in it. And we come to find that satisfaction sold separately. And instead of, we find the contentment. We find all of these things elusive to us. It's not enough. It doesn't bring us peace. What the preacher is saying, there actually is a way that we get to do these things. When we realize that they're gifts from God, we live open-handed, admitting that these things that God can put in our hands, he can also take from them. Paul famously, we like to quote this verse from Philippians 4, right? I can do all things through Christ. And we mean, we use it in sports. Guys use it in sports or, whatever it is. We take that verse out of context all the time. But look at what the context of what he can do through Christ is. It's his contentment. It's his contentment. He says, I've learned whatever situation, I'm to be content. Whatever situation. He says, I know how to be brought low. I know how to abound in every circumstance. I've learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, more than I could have, abundance, and when I'm in need, when I don't have enough. He says the secret to that is being content. I can do all things. I can do that in whatever my circumstances and situations are through him, through Christ. The reality is you can't be ambitious for affluence and love Christ. Your heart cannot be bound to both of those things. And lest you think that's me being harsh, I'll let you hear it from Jesus himself. In Matthew 6, no one can serve two masters. He'll either hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. And in case you don't know what he's talking about, you cannot serve God and money. What does he mean? Our heart is bound to. It serves. Our hearts are slaves to the things that we give them to. And if it's money, if it's our desire for wealth and affluence, this is why Paul says people have wandered away from their faith. Our heart is bound after something other than God, something that we will look to be our God, thinking that it can provide only the things that God himself can provide for us. Jesus and money are mutually exclusive in terms of our allegiance of heart. Now, again, nothing wrong with having money. Nothing wrong with having a lot of it. I'm assuming that you've earned it, in just ways and not oppressed people for that. Right? There's plenty of principles in the scripture that those who actually work and work hard actually deserve what they've earned in that. So there's nothing wrong with earning money. But is that our heart? Is our desire? Is that what we are living for? Are we looking to that? And one way to know that is, what would you feel like if you lost it all? Would you feel like life is over? I'm done for? Or would you still be able to rest on the ultimate satisfaction of our heart of who God is, knowing that in want and in plenty, I can do all those things through him who strengthens me. It's not my bank account. Listen to more instruction from Paul to Timothy in Timothy 6. He says, as for the rich in this present age, okay, that's us. Don't forget, that's you. It's always tempting to look up and go, well, that's not me. I know what's in my bank account. I wouldn't consider myself rich. He says, but as for the rich, charge them not to be haughty or proud. Now listen, nor to set their hopes on what? The uncertainty of riches. But on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. God's not out to steal your joy. He wants you to be full of joy. He just wants it to come from something that will last, that isn't fleeting, that isn't uncertain. He says they are to do good. They are to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasures for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of what is truly life. Our money, our wealth are not truly life, but it is Christ himself that is our life. And when we have that, when it is God that we are looking to provide for us richly, we then get to enjoy everything. We get to enjoy everything. And so we have to ask ourselves, do I have a case of affluenza? Am I suffering from affluenza this morning? Where is my heart? What is my motivation in my life? What is that driving force? Of course, we work, we have to earn, we live, and that's the way we live in. But does my hope rest on those things? Is my security, is my identity rising and falling with the stock market? Contentment is God's gift to give to us. And again, don't mistake, Christianity is not a call to mandatory poverty. But it does want to destroy the place in which money is the God of your heart. It wants you to see that money is a blessing from God, but it is He who is to be most treasured. Jesus is the greatest example of being satisfied with his lot in life, isn't he? His lot that the Father had given him. He just relied on the Father to provide for his needs. Even his lot that included death on the cross for our salvation. Jesus is the ultimate embodiment of this beautiful picture that we have. In this verse 18, all of this is under the sun. The few days of his life that God has given for him, for this is his lot. God has given us our lot in life. And like Jesus, this should be us. It's not our wealth. It's not our riches that we are looking to for our satisfaction, for our security, for our purpose, for our reputation, but to God himself. I think we'll sing these words shortly, but famous words from the hymn, riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance, now and always, thou and thou only, first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure, thou art. I hope we can sing those words honestly, or at least that's our desire, right? I want that to be true of my life. And in those times where my heart is deceitfully wicked as it is, wants to wrestle and reach out for the things of this world that are fleeting, may we look to Christ once again. Jesus, who became poor so that you and I could be rich. That he took on having nothing in this world so that you and I might have everything. Everything. Regardless of that stuff in the world. The everything that matters. Eternal life. I want to go back to the painting that we started off with this morning. If you'll notice on the table there's a little mirror. And we'll zoom in here. People think it's hard to see here, but what you'll see, look it up on the internet when you get home. It'll be fun. There's a little Easter egg here. And in the reflection of the mirror, it's thought to be the artist himself. And on the outside of the window, you'll see a church. But also look at the pane. The window pane is in the shape of a cross. And the person there is reaching out to hold on to that. And this is thought to be the artist himself reminding himself not to trust riches, but to reach to and cling to the cross. To look to what was the representative, the church of God at that time. We need that reminder, don't we? Our heart is so fleeting. Our heart gets entangled with so many things. And it's a particular challenge when you live where we live, because it's everywhere, isn't it? And yet we get to enjoy where we get to live. We get to do that if our heart is not entangled in our riches, but our heart is resting on Christ. We get to enjoy the good gifts that he has given us. We get to be generous with that. We get to be a blessing to others. We get to advance the kingdom of God. We get to care for the poor. We get to hopefully give things to our kids. All these things that we get to then get filled with actual satisfaction, because they're just the gift. Our ultimate satisfaction is in the giver. And we attain that by receiving the ultimate gift that he has given us, his son. That's the key to living life above the sun in that sense, that we actually get to live open-handedly with God, filling our lives full of gifts and getting to enjoy them because we get to enjoy them knowing they are from him, and that our ultimate satisfaction, our ultimate joy that cannot be shaken is in Christ himself. Let's pray together.